I want you to remember the first time you thought, if I could just make $100,000 a year, I'd be set. Maybe you were 18, staring at a tuition bill. Maybe you were 22, landing your first job for $45,000. But that number, $100,000, it was the mountaintop. It was the golden ticket. It meant you made it. It meant a nice car, a house with a backyard, vacations where you didn't have to check your bank account before ordering the appetizer. So you grinded. You worked late, you switched jobs, you got the certifications, and then finally you did it. You signed the offer letter, 6 figures. The direct deposit hits, and you wait for your life to change. You wait to feel rich. But then you go to the grocery store, you pay your rent, you fill up your gas tank, and at the end of the month, you look at your checking account and you realize something terrifying. You don't feel rich. You barely feel middle class. In fact, you feel exactly the same as you did when you were making $50,000. Why? Is it lifestyle creep? Are you just bad with money? Or is the system actually gaslighting you? Here's the thing. You're not crazy. The math has broken. And today, I'm going to prove to you with cold, hard data why $100,000 is officially the new $50,000 and what you need to do about it before you drown. My name is Leo, and I spend way too much time thinking about inflation data, purchasing power parity, and why the financial milestones we were taught as kids are actually traps in disguise. If you're someone who worked hard to hit a financial goal only to realize the goalpost moved while you weren't looking, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And giving this video a thumbs up really helps the algorithm show this to other people who are wondering where all their money went. Section 1. The anchoring bias. Why we think 100K is rich. Look, before we get into the depressing math, we have to talk about your brain. There is a psychological concept called anchoring bias. This is when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive about a topic. For most of us, our anchor for wealth was set in the 90s or early 2000s. Think about pop culture. In 1995, if a movie character made 6 figures, they were the villain. They were the rich guy in the suit who was going to buy the community center and turn it into a mall. Back in 1990, the median household income in the US was about $30,000. Making $100,000 put you in the top tier of earners. You were crushing it. But here is where it gets really interesting. Our brains hold on to that number, $100,000, because it's a nice, round, psychological threshold. It has 2 commas. It feels significant. But while our brain stayed in 1990, the economy kept moving. We are suffering from something economists call the money illusion. We are obsessed with the nominal value of money, the number on the check, and we completely ignore the real value, what that money can actually buy. You are chasing a ghost. You are chasing a 1990s lifestyle with a 2020s currency that has been devalued by nearly 50%. Section 2. The brutal math. Deconstructing the paycheck. Okay, let's stop talking feelings and start talking numbers, because numbers don't lie, but they do hurt. Let's take that $100,000 salary. First, the government takes its cut. If you're a single filer in a state with average taxes, after federal, tax, FICA, and state tax, your take-home pay is roughly $72,000. That's $6,000 a month. Now, $6,000 a month sounds decent, right? But let's adjust for the big 3: housing, transportation, and food. 1. Housing. In 2000, the median rent was around $600. Today, in many major cities where these 6-figure jobs actually exist, you're looking at $2,500 to $3,000 for a decent 1-bedroom apartment. Let's be conservative and say $2,500. You have $3,500 left. 2. Student loans. To get that 100K job, you probably needed a degree, maybe a master's. The average student loan payment is hovering around $400 to $500. Let's call it $400. You have $3,100 left. 3. Transportation. The average new car payment in America just hit an all-time high of over $730 a month. Add insurance $150 and gas $150. That's over $1,000 just to get to work. You have $2,100 left. 4. Food and life. Groceries have skyrocketed, utilities, internet, phone, health insurance deductibles. Let's say that costs you $1,000 a month. You are left with $1,100. Now, you might be thinking, wow, $1,100 a month is great savings. Is it? You still haven't invested for retirement. If you want to follow the standard advice and save 20% of your income, you need to be saving $1,600 a month. You are already in the red. You are making $100,000 a year, and you literally cannot afford the standard 20% savings rate without living like a college student. This is the reality. $100,000 today is the functional equivalent of making $50,000 in the year 2000. We have experienced a massive decoupling between high income and wealth. You can have a high income and still be living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, a recent report found that 48% of people earning over $100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in. Half of the rich people are broke.
Section 3. The middle class squeeze. Housing. Now, I want to zoom in on the biggest culprit here, the thing that breaks the math more than anything else. Housing. Here is what most people don't realize. Inflation numbers, the CPI you hear about on the news, are an aggregate. They average everything together. TVs get cheaper, phones get better, so the inflation number looks okay. But you can't live in a TV. The cost of the essential assets, housing, education, healthcare, has inflated at double or triple the rate of regular goods. Let's look at the price-to-income ratio. Historically, a house cost about 3 to 4 times the median annual income. If you made $50K, a house cost $200K. That was manageable. Today, in many markets, the median home price is 7 to 8 times the median income. So when you hit $100K, you go to the bank to get a mortgage. They run the numbers. With interest rates where they are, a $500,000 home, which is a starter home in most cities, costs you about $3,800 a month, including taxes and insurance. Remember our math from earlier? Your take-home is $6,000. If you buy that average house, you are spending 63% of your net income on housing. The old rule was don't spend more than 30%. To follow the 30% rule today, to buy the median home, you don't need $100,000, you need $180,000. That is the new benchmark. The new 100K is literally closer to 200K. Section 4. The psychological trap. Lifestyle creep versus inflation. Okay, so the system is rigged. The costs are up, but we have to take some responsibility here too, because even if you know the math, you're probably still making yourself poorer through psychology. There is a phenomenon called the Diderot effect. Denis Diderot was a French philosopher. He was broke most of his life. Then one day, the Empress of Russia bought his library for a huge sum. Suddenly, Diderot had money. He bought a beautiful scarlet robe. It was luxurious. But then he looked around his apartment. His old rug looked tatty next to the new robe, so he replaced the rug. Then the chair looked cheap, so he replaced the chair. Then the paintings. Within a year, he was broke again. This is the 100K trap. When you get that promotion, you don't just put the extra money in the bank. You upgrade your identity. You think, I make 6 figures now. I shouldn't be driving a 2014 Honda Civic. I shouldn't be shopping at Walmart. I should be going to Whole Foods. I should have the Equinox membership. You upgrade your baseline. This is called lifestyle creep, but I prefer to call it the status tax. We are social creatures. We compare ourselves to our peers, and because of social media, our peers are no longer just the neighbors next door. Our peers are influencers, celebrities in the top 1% of the world. We see people taking trips to Tulum, driving Teslas, eating omakase, and we think, I make 100K, I should be able to do that too. But those people, most of them are drowning in credit card debt to maintain the image of wealth. Here is the uncomfortable truth. To actually build wealth on $100,000 today, you have to live like you make $50,000. But nobody wants to hear that. You worked hard for the raise. You deserve the treat. And that deserving mentality is exactly what keeps the credit card companies in business.
Section 5. The tax cliff nobody talks about.
Now, there is one more hidden factor that makes $100,000 feel like $50,000, and it's the tax cliff. Nobody talks about this. People misunderstand how marginal tax brackets work, but beyond that, as your income rises, you lose access to a lot of deductions and credits. Student loan interest deduction phases out. Child tax credits phase out. Stimulus checks, you didn't get them. Financial aid for your kids' college, forget it. You enter this weird dead zone of the American economy. Economists sometimes call this the Henry class. High earner, not rich yet. You make too much to get any help, but you don't make enough to actually feel secure. You are bearing the full weight of the tax system without the loopholes that the super rich, the people making $1 million plus, get to use. You are the cash cow of the economy, and being a cash cow is exhausting. Section 6. The solution. How to escape the trap. Okay, I've sufficiently depressed everyone. The dollar is weaker, housing is impossible, and your brain is tricking you into buying expensive robes. Is it hopeless? Should we just give up and buy avocado toast until the apocalypse? No, but you need a new strategy. The work hard, get a steady job, save 10% playbook is dead. Here is your 3-step battle plan to survive the 100K dilemma. Step 1. Kill the 6-figure anchor. Stop aiming for $100,000. Delete that number from your brain. It is meaningless. Instead, you need to calculate your freedom number. Sit down and look at your actual cost of living in your specific city. If rent is $3K and life costs $2K, you need $5K net. That's $60K net. That means you need $85K gross just to survive. If you want to save, you need $110K. If you want to buy a house, you need $150K. Find your number. Stop celebrating arbitrary milestones that the economy has left behind. Step 2. Radical gap management. Wealth is not determined by your income. It is determined by the gap between your income and your expenses. If you make $50K and spend $40K, you are richer than the guy who makes $100K and spends $150K. Because costs have risen so much, you cannot budget your way out of this with coupons. You have to make big structural changes. This means keeping the big 3 low. Drive the 10-year-old car. Get a roommate, even if you're 28. Meal prep. It sucks. I know it sucks. You make $100K, you shouldn't have to have a roommate. But do you want to look rich, or do you want to be rich? Step 3. Income escapism or geo-arbitrage. If you are stuck in the 100K trap, you have 2 options. Option A, you aggressively scale your income. You need to move from 100K to 150K or 200K. This usually means job hopping every 18 to 24 months. Loyalty is a poverty trait in this economy. You need to be a mercenary. Option B, you take your 100K remote job and you move. If you make 100K in New York City, you're broke. If you make 100K in Ohio or Thailand or Portugal, you are a king. We live in a global economy. If your cost of living is crushing you, change the denominator. Here is the bottom line. The feeling you have that you're running faster just to stay in the same place is real. The currency is being debased. Assets are inflating. The middle class is being hollowed out. $100,000 is a great milestone, but it is no longer the finish line. It's barely the starting line. But now that you know the math, you can stop beating yourself up. You can stop wondering why you don't feel rich. You don't feel rich because you aren't rich yet, and that's okay. Accept the reality of the 2024 economy. Adjust your expectations, keep your lifestyle tight, and keep pushing for that next level. Because the game has changed, and if you keep playing by the old rules, you're going to lose. Now, I want to hear from you. Does $100,000 feel like a lot of money to you? Or are you earning that now and wondering where it all goes? Drop a comment below with your experience. I read every single one. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.